Welcome to the Pokemon Card Classic, hosted by Shreddy, the jack-stacked serial thriller of Pokemon card collecting. Today we're going to be talking about how you can get started collecting Pokemon cards on a budget, whether you're a 90s kid looking to get back into the hobby or whether you're looking to get into the hobby for the first time. Pokemon cards can be crazy expensive, but you don't have to spend a ton of money to get started and build a collection that you love. Keep watching to find out what my top tips are to start collecting Pokemon cards, to have fun and to do it on a budget. But first, let me know down in the comments below, are you looking to get into the hobby for the first time, or are you somebody returning to the hobby? If you want to know more about Pokemon cards, or take a trip down memory lane, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all of the Pokemon card videos that I put out on the channel. So no matter what your budget, let's get ready, shreddy and go.
Are you ready for shreddy?
So let's talk getting back into collecting Pokemon on a budget. So a little bit about how I got into collecting Pokemon, and there's videos on the channel if you want to go and check those out. And I started collecting Pokemon in 1999 when I was a kid. I was 8 years old when the cards first released. As I grew up and became a teenager, well 12 years old, I kind of fell out of Pokemon and sort of grew up. Fast forward a couple of years, 2008, I was in university. And I started buying and selling Pokemon cards on eBay again. As a result, ended up growing my collection substantially, doing it for what worked out to be free. I got back into the hobby in 2008 when I was in my first year of uni. I was living at home, I found my old Pokemon cards, and I just wondered, you know, what are these worth now? Just like most kids probably do, like most people do when they find something from their childhood. Oh, what are these worth now? Went into eBay, found out that they were gone up in price, but they weren't crazy expensive. There was a couple of cards missing in some of the sets that I collected when I was a kid. And I thought, oh, I'll try and complete these because it's pretty cheap to do. Ended up buying some cards, selling some cards, taking that money to buy more cards. I ended up growing pretty much the entirety of my collection for free. The market back then was literally completely different to what it is now. I was buying booster boxes for literally as cheap as £25. Team Rocket booster boxes, those are now going to cost you $3.5 grand, if not more. So because people who are returning to the hobby look at these prices and they just think, I can't get back into that, even though they want to, it kind of puts them off the hobby. Maybe you've been collecting for a few years and the sets that you wanted to complete or the sets that you were looking to try and add more cards to your collection from have gone up in price, and maybe you've now been priced out of the market. Don't get caught up in the price game. You can still collect Pokemon cards on a budget without spending a fortune. So how can we do this? Well, here's just a little bit of advice from me. First up, decide what you want to collect and why are you collecting. Is it for nostalgic memories? Is it because you've got kids and you want to get them into Pokemon? Is it because you're a Pokemon fan yourself and you just want to get into the cards? Is it because you're looking to invest some money to pay off years down the line? Whatever the reason is for you to be collecting, kind of be clear and understand, you know, why are you getting into this hobby? That's going to help you dictate what your goals should be within the hobby. I can't tell you what you need to be collecting for. I can't tell you why you should be collecting. That's personal. For me, I collect mainly for nostalgic reasons. Pokemon is something that I grew up with. I phased out of it for a couple of years when I was, you know, a young teenager. Literally for maybe year and a half I kind of phased out with Pokemon, and then I got back into the games, and ever since then it's always been kind of a constant in my life. Collecting cards for me is, you know, it just takes me straight back to being a kid. So for me, it's the nostalgia. It's to collect the cards that I wanted to get when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult, I've got disposable income. I can do that. So decide why you want to be collecting, and only you know that. When you figure it out, write it down. You know, take out your mobile phone, put it in your notes, get a pen and paper. Just write down why it is you're collecting. Next up, be realistic. How much money have you got to spend on Pokemon cards? You might budget your funds every month. If you do, you'll probably know what your disposable income is. Decide how much you realistically can afford to spend on Pokemon cards, and realistically how much you would be willing and happy to spend on Pokemon cards. My advice would be, do not spend money you don't have on Pokemon cards. What I mean by this is, if money is tight and you're struggling to pay bills each month, the last thing I would be doing is then you know, taking your money and putting it into Pokemon cards. I wouldn't be taking out credit cards or overdrafts or anything like that. I would be putting money into Pokemon the same as I would buying computer games, buying gym gear, buying, you know, whatever it is, disposable income that you're happy to spend. For bigger purchases, for me, with me being a vintage collector, I do have kind of money set aside for if a big purchase comes up, I can afford to buy that. But that's very rare and not something I do very often. So your budget might be £20 a month, it might be £100 a month, it might be £500 a month. Again, it depends on you. Maybe you're a kid watching this and you get £5 pocket money a week. You go buy a booster pack each week. Maybe you're an adult and you're left with £1,000 at the end of every month disposable income. From that £1,000, you might think, I'm going to set half of that aside for Pokemon. It's completely up to you. What I would do is just figure out and have a plan about how much money you could realistically spend and how much money you can comfortably afford to spend on Pokemon. Once you know how much money you've got to spend, you can then start to refine what it is you're looking to buy, how often you're going to be buying, and kind of come up with some collection goals. If we're working on a budget, let's say that budget is, you know, £50 a month as an example. So once you've figured out why you're collecting and how much money you've got to spend, then you can start deciding on what card you want to buy. So this video, we're looking at those who are on a budget. My best advice would be to completely forget about PSA and graded cards and to buy raw cards only. PSA cards are always going to fetch a massive premium. The higher the grade, the higher the price. A 10 can be double, triple what a 9 would be. A 9 can be, you know, 50% more than what an 8 would be. The lower the grade, the cheaper the cards. But if you're on a budget, I honestly wouldn't be concerned with, you know, graded cards and things like that. If you're on a budget, just look to buy raw cards. What I mean by a raw card is a card that came out of a booster pack, came out of a deck, someone's maybe put in a binder, a penny sleeve, a top loader, whatever it might be. It's just a normal card. Everyone's collection goals are different, but I kind of see PSA and graded cards as more of an investment rather than just, you know, a card to collect. Another way to keep costs down is to also, if you're collecting older vintage cards, forget about first edition, just buy the unlimited. First edition cards of the older sets, again, you know, you can be paying double, depending on what the card is, you can be paying double, triple or more for a first edition card compared to the unlimited version. If you're looking at Pokemon cards, other than a little stamp on the left hand side that has like the number 1, little black circle, the number 1, the card's identical. If you're collecting to look at the cards, if you're collecting because you have a favourite Pokemon, whatever the reasons are you're collecting, whatever cards you're collecting, a first edition card looks identical to a normal card. Unlimited and first edition cards look identical, they'll go in your binder or they'll go in a top loader, and when you're looking at them, having the first edition card there, if you're not buying to invest, isn't going to bring you, you know, any more joy than an unlimited card, but it's going to be a lot more affordable. Next up, to keep costs down, consider the condition of the cards. While we all want to be looking at cards that are mintier than a pack of polos, if you buy your card that's in, you know, subpar condition, it's going to be cheaper to buy. Subpar condition doesn't mean bad, it just means it's not pristine or not perfect. You can buy cards where the front looks mint, but the back might have some scuffs on, might have some whitening around it. But if you have that in a top loader or in a binder, you're looking at the front of the card, you can't see any of those imperfections, but will cost you a lot less money than buying a card where the back is also in mint condition. The reason for this is people will pay a premium for mint condition raw cards to then get them sent off and to be graded. If you don't care about grading them, lower your expectations of the condition of the cards. Like I've already mentioned, buy raw, buy unlimited, and settle for good condition cards rather than mint condition cards. Those are all easy ways to keep the cost of what you're buying down. Next up, I would consider having some defined goals about what it is you're looking to collect. If you want to just collect Pokemon cards, there's literally thousands and thousands of different things you can buy. With so much choice out there, you might find yourself just buying bits and pieces randomly and then a couple of weeks or a couple of months down the line, you got all this random stuff, and there's kind of like, you're looking at it and you're like, what have I got here? My advice would be to set some goals that are specific to you, that relate back to why you're collecting in the first place. Some examples of these goals, for me at least, could be the following. I want to collect full sets of specific sets from a certain era. I gravitate towards vintage cards because I collect for nostalgic reasons. So for me, that's the Wizards of the Coast. Base, Jungle, Fossil, Rocket, all the way up to Legendary Collection is what I personally collect. A goal for me would be, I want to complete the entire base set. It could be, I want to complete the entire jungle set. Looking at completing master sets is an easy way to get started. Why? Because each set has a set list. You know exactly how many cards are in that set. You can look it up online. You know what you need to buy. And there's a sense of completion there because you've got a goal. You can collect all those cards and you've completed the goal of getting a full set. So it's kind of something to aim for, something to strive for, and something to keep you interested in the hobby. Another goal could be to collect all 150 or all 151 Pokemon. That could be from any of the sets from the Wizards of the Coast era. So you might have a Charizard from Team Rocket because it's cheaper than the basic card. You might have the Raichu from Fossil because that's what you had in your collection from years ago and you didn't have the basic version of it. So collecting an entire generation of Pokemon from numerous sets is also another potential goal to have. You might want to collect specific species of Pokemon. So for example, Blastoise might be your favourite Pokemon. So go out and collect Squirtle, Wartortles and Blastoise. You might want to go and collect fire Pokemon, so you would go and buy fire Pokemon cards. These are a couple of different goals that you can set to kind of help you keep interested in the hobby and kind of give you a sense of striving towards completing something, aiming towards something, and then ticking it off the list. So once you've figured out why you're collecting, what you're collecting, how much money you've got to collect, how can you buy them for cheaper? Well, what I would do is go on eBay, search the cards that you're looking for, always try and pick cards up in auctions rather than buy it now, or message the seller who has a buy it now listed and offer them a little bit less. To establish what you should be paying for cards, again, just go onto eBay, type in whatever it is you're looking for and check the sold listings. This will give you an idea of, on average, what those cards are selling for, so you've got an idea of what you should be paying. Other ways to pick cards up for cheap is by heading over to Pokemon groups on Facebook or local Facebook marketplaces or on Instagram. People will typically sell items for cheaper through any of these channels to avoid paying eBay fees. If it's a local marketplace through Facebook, go and buy the item in person because then you're missing out on paying the eBay fees and the PayPal fees. But eBay is probably the safest way to get started buying, and you can still get items for cheap on there. If you're just getting back into the hobby or just getting started with the hobby, write down a list of a couple of specific cards that you're looking to buy and just monitor the prices over the course of a week. Make a note of what each card is selling for every time it sells to try and get an average price of what you should be paying. If you can hold out to get items for a little bit cheaper on auctions rather than buy it nows, you're going to save money. And then last tip is sell the cards that you don't need. You might find a job lot of cards or a bundle of cards on eBay containing a card that you are after. For whatever reason, it might be cheaper to buy the bundle to get a couple of cards that you want to add to your collection. When you've bought it, when you've had it delivered, take those cards out of the bundle and then you'll be left with cards that you don't collect and that you don't need. Make sure that you're selling these cards back on eBay or through Instagram or through Facebook to get a little bit of money back to then lower your costs of what you've been spending, recoup a little bit of money to then put back into buying Pokemon. If you do this regularly and you're regularly buying job lots of cards, you might actually find that you can grow your collection very, very cheaply by buying bundles, selling the cards back on eBay, making a little bit of money. So there we have a cheap or a cheaper way to collect Pokemon, whether you're brand new, looking to get started in the hobby, or you're a returning collector from years gone by. This has just been a short kind of overview video giving you some general advice and some general tips about how you can collect Pokemon cards on a budget. The most important thing though is to do this and have fun. The moment it doesn't become fun, ask yourself, what's the point? If you're collecting cards that you like, you're doing it so that it's affordable and you're engaging in the community and making friends while you're at it, you're going to have fun and you're going to stick around longer. You're going to have more success. I hope this video has helped you guys out. If it has, please hit that thumbs up button and let me know down in the comments below if you have any tips or if you're going to get started collecting after this video. If you want to see more Pokemon videos, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell and you'll be notified of every time I upload a new Pokemon card classic video where I take a look at my retro vintage collection of cards and provide tips and tricks on how you can grow your collection. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. But until next time, guys, remember, collecting ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.